What's up, it's your boy, I Know Mercy, the Mad Hatter, here to talk about the recently released teaser trailer for Darksiders 3, a game that, like many, I didn't think would ever actually get made. Darksiders is a series that came out early 2000s, the first game early 2010s. The first game actually came out on 2010, and Darksiders 2 came out like 2 years later, and I never played the first one, but I did play the second one, and I really liked it. And when I heard that THQ was going out of business a few years later, I was really disappointed, because even though THQ hasn't had the best record with the games that it published, there were some games that I generally liked from them, and I was sad to see them go. But then they kind of came back by merging with Nordic. By merging with Nordic games. I don't exactly remember when that happened, but THQ Nordic did bring back the Darksiders series with not a new developer. When THQ was going out of business, a lot of the game companies that they had under their umbrella also went out of business because they obviously weren't getting funding. Unfortunately, Vigil, the developer behind the Darksiders series, was one such company, and they ended up getting dissolved, and many of their staffers going in different directions. The main two, Joe Maduara, I think, and I actually can't remember the second guy, but they did go on to sort of co-create another company, which was going to be handling this game, Gunfire Games. And okay, you still got the same dudes that are behind the first two games, coming out with the third one. This isn't a new entity coming in and taking the Darksiders franchise and doing their own thing with it. But it is okay, Joe Maduara did the art design for the first two games, and you can tell Maduara has a fairly unique style. He's actually a somewhat famous comic book writer that hit it big in the 90s, especially with his own creator-owned comic, Battle Chasers, which I've never read, but I've heard good things about. And there was actually news that there was going to be a Battle Chasers game last year. I'm not sure, or in 2015. I'm not sure if that's still going to be a thing, but it was at some point. But it doesn't look like Maduara is going to be isn't in charge of the art design in this one, because it looks very radically different from the first two games, which had a really good, it had a really unique, interesting style behind it, especially the second one. It was very dark and gothic, and I always really liked the way the characters were designed. It wasn't realistic, but it wasn't like ultra cartoony either. It was kind of, have you ever seen Sunset Overdrive? It's not like that, but it's in that same kind of vein of realistic enough where they look like they're normal proportioned human, but cartoony enough that they don't go into the uncanny valley, or it isn't ultra realistic or ultra detailed, but it's got a good mixture of both, and I felt like Darksiders always had that, except for the over detailed. Like the designs in Darksiders has always been way over detailed, like just fucking everything. Like, it looked like War from the first game honestly looks like he just ran head first into a gothic costume shop covered in glue and just wore whatever stuck to him. War started off, Death in the second game actually started off pretty basic, but considering there is a loot system and you can equip different weapons and armor, then yeah. I mean, it was still good, design-wise. It was just really busy. but this new, it still has the busyness from the former games. It's just, it's clear Joe Madureira isn't doing the design, isn't in charge of the character design anymore, because they're skewing more toward the cartoon. It's like Battleborn, actually. It does remind me of some of the designs from Battleborn. It's that kind of, it's not bad. It's just coming off of the first two games, it's jarring. I guess that's one, like, it's not bad, it's just jarring. Because we actually don't really know that much about what the overall game is going to look like. So far, we've only seen 3 characters. We've seen War, who's still chained up. We've seen Fury, who's going to be the main character of this game. And we've seen a demon that she's killing. Like, but the demon does look like it's the same type of demon that that Death was fighting in the teaser trailer for Darksiders 2. And it's actually kind of amazing. Like, if you compare the trailer for Darksiders 2 with this,
accept this undertaking, though they are 7, and you but 1.
With pleasure.
it's like, you wouldn't know that this was made by the same people. I mean, for one thing, the teaser for Darksiders 2 was slightly longer, but it was more just about Death killing things, which was actually pretty cool. But all right, let's get into this. So War is still chained up, because if you don't know the story of Darksiders, basically you follow the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but instead of conquest, war, famine, and death, it's war, death, fury, and strife. Like you can tell that Joe Madureira was a big thing in the 90s, because the horsemen sound like they were the horsemen that were created during the 90s. Because, like, fury and strife, what the fuck is that? And honestly, it's always struck me as odd that strife is oftentimes used as a placeholder for conquest. Because sure, you can say that conquest and war are basically the same thing, but strife and war literally are the same thing. You know, well, conquest and strife are both aftermaths of war, so there's that, I guess. And my brother's doing something outside. I don't know if you can hear that. And okay, so war is still chained up by the Charred Council, who is like they don't control everything, but like they're mediators between heaven and hell, or something like, I don't know. There's something like that. It's been a while since I played this game. So war is still chained up. Fury comes in. The Charred Council tells her that because War fucked up because War accidentally started the apocalypse too early. I don't remember why or how, because again, I didn't play the first game. But It was eventually shown that it wasn't actually War's fault, but Darksiders 2 took place before Darksiders 1, and I'm guessing Darksiders 3 is going to do the same thing, since again War is still chained up. So he accidentally started the apocalypse early, and I guess the 7 deadly sins, or creatures representing the 7 deadly sins, are now loose, and Fury has to go track them down and kill them, because, okay, I guess. It's, I'm honestly not sure what to think about this, because in the first game, you were trying to clear War's name. Like, okay, I get that. War got framed by something he didn't do. Like, he got set up to start the apocalypse early, so he had to figure out a way to clear his name, and he did. Second game, Death tries to resurrect humanity, thinking somehow that would exonerate War. I'm not sure why, but okay. So far it seems like Fury's the only one who's actually, like, obeying the Charred Council. Like, she's actually doing her job, which is to basically act as the Charred Council's assassins, or enforcers, or whatever. It's like, she's the only one doing her fucking job here, which is kind of funny. Also, it has absolutely nothing that, I kind of get the feeling that from this trailer, War and Fury don't have the best relationship. You don't really get that feeling from Death either. It's more, I have to do it because he's my fucking brother. I know, dude, he wouldn't do this shit. I'm gonna help him out. But Fury is like, okay, fine, you fucked up, I'm gonna do my job. Like, okay, yeah, I get that. And Fury does seem different than War and Death, which is good. Because War was really stoic and no bullshit and just doing this thing. Basically what you expect from a character voiced by Liam O'Brien when he isn't screaming his head off. And Death was awesome. Because, okay, so he was basically Alucard from the abridged Hellsing, except, no, he was basically Alucard from abridged Hellsing. Just that damn near exactly. Not as perverse. He didn't tell as many jokes, admittedly, but he was a snarky asshole. He just belittled everyone around him, made snide comments all the time. I really liked Death. And he killed things really well. It's actually one thing I'm always really curious about, especially in reference to Death, is he the actual Grim Reaper? Like the dude who takes souls? Or is he just a dude that's really good at killing things? Because I was never sure. But Fury seems, she isn't serious like War and Death were. She seems more playful, like playful in a sadistic kind of way. I want to say kind of like Larkscene from Kingdom Hearts, except not as bubbly, I guess. Like the same type of personality, except I'm not really sure what to say here. Like if you see the trailer and you're familiar with Larkscene, you might know what I'm trying to get at here. And her playstyle is most likely going to be significantly different. I mean, War had a giant sword, and Death obviously had the scythe. Stripe's weapon is a whip, I believe, and I looked it up. Some of the leaked information, and it seems like she's going to be a more magic-based character than War or Death were, which is kind of interesting, considering War was was kind of tanky and kind of slow and really bulky, and Death was a lot faster. He couldn't really block, so he had to avoid all enemy attacks, and he was more acrobatic and shit. And I gotta get the feeling that Strife is gonna be just as acrobatic, but she's going to be revolving more around magical abilities and stuff like that. At least that's what I'm getting, which is okay. They gotta build this up like a fucking Final Fantasy party. Like, War is the fighter, Death is the thief, Fury's the mage, and I guess Strife would be the ranger since his weapons are guns. Okay. Now I'm guessing if they have a Darksiders 4, it's gonna focus on Strife next. And maybe they'll have maybe they have a Darksiders 5 where you get to it's an actual full-blown fucking RPG, because these games have always had slight RPG elements blended in with Legend of Zelda elements, but it's a purely hack and slash game. So maybe if they have a 5th game that's just like, no, it's a turn-based fucking RPG. I don't know. Maybe it'd be weird, or an action-based RPG with a fucking party system. Like, I don't know. That'd be weird. It might be fun. I don't know. It would be weird though. And so I'm honestly not really sure what to think about this, because I did like Darksiders 2. I heard good things about Darksiders 1. I am happy that the series is continuing. I kind of hope that I can't get too excited, I guess. It's like, I have to see actual gameplay to get well and truly, to really gauge my actual excitement about, or anticipation about getting this game, because at present, it's just, okay, it's happening. It's not coming out until next year, but it's happening, so there's that. One thing I am kind of curious about future games and future trailers, because obviously this is just a teaser, just letting us know that it's coming out, well, we know what our weapon is, because we've always known what our weapon is. It's been a known fact pretty much since the first game that Fury uses a whip. But what I'm curious about is what her horse looks like, because I actually don't know. I actually don't remember what War or Death's horses were called, but they both look really badass. And Fury's supposed to be the rider of the black horse, and I'm wondering what that's going to entail, because the red horse was on fire, and the pale horse emitted a kind of emitted a sort of green mist. I actually think, now that I think about it, I think that Death's horse, it was actually called Pestilence. I have to look that up later, but I'm pretty sure it actually was called Pestilence. So I'm curious what Fury's horse is going to look like and what its name is going to be. But also, I'm also curious if she's going to have like an alternate form, because both War and Death had alternate forms. War turned into a giant flaming monster, and Death turned into like a larger version of what you would imagine the Grim Reaper would look like. If all of the horsemen have this similar ability, then I'm really curious what Fury's is going to be. And also, a lingering plot thread from the second game was Lilith, who is supposedly the mother of the Nephilim, which are the race that the Horsemen belong to. I can't remember exactly what happened at the end of Darksiders 2, but something or someone attacked Lilith, and it had something to do with the Horsemen and the Apocalypse. And I'm wondering, I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm wondering how that's going to play into this game, and if we're going to get more information on how the Apocalypse happened and what happened during it, and Fury's relationship with her brothers. All those things I think would be really interesting to look into and explore. But again, we're just getting a teaser. We don't really know anything about what's going on in the full game. We have snippets. We have what the creators are saying about it right now. But we're gonna have to wait until we get more trailers and more information to really piece out what's going on in this story so far. And I'm interested, at least. I can say that. I am somewhat interested in what's going on.